Hello and welcome to Topics in Governmental Financial Analysis. My name is Dean Mead and I am your professor for this course. I'm not going to go into any detail on my background. You can read the bio that's available on the course website if you really want to, but the part I do want to emphasize is that I am a financial statement user by training. I am a financial statement analyst. I have made a career as an academic in teaching accounting, certainly, and spent most of my career now at the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. And I was hired in the first place because I am a financial statement user and I know how to talk to people who use financial statements. So they're not accounting technicians. They know a lot about accounting, but they're not accountants. And so this is a course that I particularly enjoy teaching because I created it for Rutgers. It's a course I've always wanted to teach, and so I've been teaching it for I think 5 or 6 years now, and it's a real pleasure for me to be able to teach it again this semester. As you look at the units in the course, you will see that each one contains a lecture, a recorded lecture that you will be able to find online. I provide a copy of the slides in the document sharing area of the website, so you will have those as well. There are required readings for each week, and for many of the weeks, optional readings that you may want to look at as well. And there is a threaded discussion where you will engage in a discussion of a topic related to that week's lecture, and that is a pretty significant part of the grade, and I'll say a little bit more about that as we go on. Each week I also, in each unit, provide links to additional information that is available on the internet, which I encourage you to take a look at. It's not just throwaway stuff, it's things that I have seen that are relevant to each of the units that I think you actually might find elucidating or informative, and so it's worth at least taking a quick look at them, and then you may want to download them if you can, or bookmark them and take a look at them in more detail later. As you can see, the discussion thread, the weekly discussion thread, and the 4 assignments in the course are the lion's share of your grade for this course. There is also a sort of capstone course project, which is worth a little bit more than a weekly assignment, and then there's a final exam at the end of the course in December. I will say more about the discussion threads and the assignments in the next couple of slides, but suffice it to say they are a pretty significant part of what you will be graded on for this course. That threaded discussion, there is one each week except for the weeks when the assignments are due. So those 4 weeks when the assignments are due, there is no discussion thread that week, but in each of the other weeks there is. And what I'm really looking for here is a lively discussion amongst the class members about the topic that is posed. You will see that at least initially, the first few weeks, I'll be very involved in that discussion, but ideally you will take over that discussion, and I will move to more of a moderator role in which I will provide answers to questions that come up, maybe try to steer the discussion back onto the main topic if it veers off. That has been known to happen occasionally, but the ideal here is that this is your discussion that I'm only helping to facilitate, and it's an opportunity for you to to explore the things that you've learned, to learn from what other students know and from their personal experiences. It has been my experience in teaching this course that a lot of the students have really interesting and relevant professional experience to share, and actual real life experience with some of this stuff, and that is really fascinating, not just to the other students but to me as well. The fact that this is worth 25% of the grade ought to drive home to you that this is not just a kind of side, uh, a side order to the main meal. This is a key part of the meal. It may not be the entree; that's probably the assignments, but this is the main staple that goes along with that, and so it needs to be taken seriously, and you need to put some real effort into it. To receive full credit, you need to respond at least 3 times to each thread. You will have an initial entry that's your answer to whatever question has been posed, and that needs to be done each week by midnight your time on Thursday. And then you need to make at least 2 more entries by midnight Sunday your time, in which you are responding to questions from your fellow students or from me, or you're posing questions to them, or responding to things that they've posted. And all of these need to be meaningful or substantive entries. And by that I mean you don't expect to get credit for a post that just says, hey, that's a great post, Joe, thanks. I'm sure Joe will appreciate that, and so you ought to make those kinds of posts if you feel prompted to do so, but don't expect that those are going to fulfill the requirements, the grading requirements for the threaded discussion. I'm expecting actual substantive interaction in those posts in order for you to receive credit. You're also able to get extra credit, and considering that this is a quarter of your grade, extra credit can be really valuable, and this is really the only place you can get extra credit during the semester. So if you are providing making additional entries beyond the required 3, and they're, again, meaningful and substantive entries, I will provide extra credit to you. I will give you extra credit for those additional posts. So if you really get engaged and involved in this discussion, it will really benefit you in terms of your grade. I will also mention that in terms of the timing, that the 3 required posts need to be done obviously by the end of each unit, by midnight on Sunday, but you will have an additional week beyond that where your posts in that thread will continue to receive credit, your opportunity to receive extra credit, and then I will basically grade as of the end of the succeeding unit. So, for instance, your answers in Unit 1, you will be able to continue to answer during Unit 2, and at the end of Unit 2, that's the point at which I will go and look to see what's there, and I will assign a grade based upon the posts that are there as of that point. You, of course, can continue to interact on that thread beyond the end of the following unit, but I won't be taking those into account when I assign grades. Take a look at the syllabus, because there are differences for Units 1 and 11 because each of them is longer than a week. Unit 11 is when Thanksgiving falls, and that's a 2-week unit. Unit 1, the very first unit, is almost 2 weeks long. And so take a look at what the syllabus says about the dates that you're supposed to be posting for each of those. I could say for Unit 1, the introduction thread where you introduce yourself to the rest of the class, please be sure to post on that by this coming Friday, by midnight September 9th. The actual discussion thread, the one that's graded, then your initial response to that needs to be done by Thursday, September 15th. And please do check the syllabus to confirm those dates, and also to find the dates when you're supposed to do the posting for the discussion thread in Unit 11. As I mentioned, there are 4 assignments. Each one of them is centered around a group of financial ratios, or particular part of financial analysis, and you'll be expected to take a financial report that I provide to you. And for this semester, I've chosen the city of Mount Lebanon in Pennsylvania, which is a suburb of Pittsburgh. And you will calculate a bunch of ratios, answer questions that I've posed in the assignment, and begin the process of thinking about what those ratios have to say about the financial health of that city, ultimately leading up to the course project, which I'll say a little bit more about in a second, which will be a synthesis of what you found in those individual assignments, as well as additional analysis on top of that. The assignments themselves you will find in the tabs for units 2, 4, 6, and 8. Those assignments are then due 2 weeks later in units 4, 6, 8, and 10. So those are the 4 units when there's no discussion thread. In general, in terms of the mechanics of submitting these, you will submit them through Dropbox, the feature on the course website, which you should all be familiar with by now. You had to use it as a part of the introductory governmental accounting and auditing course at a minimum. And if you've taken other courses that use it, you should know how to submit through Dropbox. And as a practical matter, your write-up is going to be in a Word document, I would presume. If you do some work in Excel, for instance, if you have tables of ratios that you calculate in Excel, please submit the Excel file separately. You can attach that along with attaching the Word document in Dropbox, so that I can see what you've done, I can see the work, I can see the formulas behind it, which will allow me to give you partial credit. That's really important. If all you do is give me a number that you calculated and the number's wrong and I can't see what went into the calculation of that number, I can't give you any partial credit. All I can do is mark you off for not having the right answer. So it's really important that you give me those Excel files and that you don't just copy and paste Excel tables into Word. As I mentioned, this is 40% of your grade. So these, each one of them is worth 10% of the grade. Each assignment is graded on a point scale of 1 to 10. And I'm looking at the accuracy of the calculations, but even more so at the thoughtfulness and thoroughness of your answers to the questions about what you found in calculating those ratios and what it means and how it should be interpreted. I will be expecting that you follow the instructions in the assignment so that the content and structure that are required by the assignment are in your submission just as they're laid out in the assignment. And of course, it's not a major part of the grade, but you do have the potential for losing points for poor grammar, poor spelling, and so on. So it's always a good idea if you're concerned about your grammar and spelling and diction and things like that, that you have somebody else read it for you and provide some edits before you submit it to me. There's nothing worse for a professor than having to grade an assignment that is really poorly written and difficult to get through. It doesn't behoove you to submit an assignment in that fashion. One other thing I will also mention about grading is I'm a pretty tough grader, and some of you, particularly if you haven't had me for a course before, may find your grade on at least the initial assignment to be shocking. So I'm just warning you now that I have very high expectations for what is an advanced level course in a graduate program, and one of the, in my opinion, best graduate programs in accounting in the country. And so the expectations are quite high. What I find is that students respond well, and by the next assignment and then the succeeding assignments through the semester, they get better and better and better, and the grades improve significantly. So there may be some sticker shock initially that you should be aware of, but that doesn't mean that that you're going to fail the course. It just means that you need to pay attention to the things that I'm commenting on and the things that I'm asking you to do, and make sure that you do those with the next assignment, and your grade should, if it took a hit in the first assignment, it should improve accordingly. The course project then is a synthesis of the analysis that you're doing in each of the 4 individual assignments. But what I will really be focusing on in grading that is what you do above and beyond that. So I will first and foremost be looking to see that if there were problems with the individual assignments, that you fix those problems, and that what you include in the course project reflects that you've addressed any of the issues that I raised in my grading of the assignments. I will be looking to see how you synthesize and combine that into a comprehensive analysis of the financial health of the government, and what you do above and beyond what was included in those 4 assignments, what other things that you looked at, what other types of analysis you did, what other information you gleaned from the comprehensive annual financial report of the city and from other sources as well outside of that financial report. So I'll really be looking to see what the value added was in the assignment, in the course project, above and beyond the 4 individual assignments. The particulars of the course project you will find in the tab for Unit 3 of the course. If you need to reach me, the best way to do so is through email. I generally respond within 24 hours. If the issue is something that really is easier to deal with on the phone, then we'll arrange a time to talk on the phone. But my preference and what will work best for you, I believe, is to contact me first by email. More than 90% of the time, it is simple for me to answer your question directly by email, and it really doesn't require any further discussion. But if further discussion is necessary, I will make time available to you to hash out whatever the issue is. Please do not hesitate to contact me by email. That's what I'm here for. You don't have the benefit of getting to see me once or twice a week in an in-person lecture, so you shouldn't feel hesitant at all to reach out to me and ask questions when they come up. That's a part of what a professor does, and I fully expect to do that as a part of this course. So with that, I wish you the best of luck this semester. I'm looking forward to working with you, to getting to know you, and please, again, don't hesitate to email me if you have any questions about the course. Thanks a lot.